Well, with all great intentions, I had a little bit of maintenance. That was all I was going to be able to do today on this KX71. But late last night, ended up blowing a hydraulic line on the backfill blade. And of course, it's Friday, Labor Day weekend, last night, and today's Saturday. And one of the hydraulic places won't be open till Monday, or till Tuesday. And there's not a lot of options, so went to Northern Tool. And I'll go ahead and show this to you. When I take the plate off here, the shortest hose they had was an 18-inch, but then I had to get a double female on the pipe thread. That's the 3/8 that's on there, and then the correct fitting that goes into that. So it's too long. I do have a protective shroud that'll go around this to protect that arm for a little bit, but as soon as I can next week, I'm going to go get the proper hose that has the spring tension. It's keeping it away from these parts that are sharp, and get that replaced. But the main purpose today is going to be doing some maintenance on this. I'm going to show you one thing that's already done and a couple things I'm going to do. We started off with a regular ratchet, but it is not moving, so we have the breaker bar with 3/4. We'll see what that will do. There we go. That was way tighter than I thought it was going to be. So let me get the bucket positioned. I will note too that I've got the Traco slightly, the bucket in the front turned towards the right, angling, so we got a little bit more room to work here. I could probably even swing it a little bit more, but just not a lot of room under the shop. So let me get this thing started. Yep, we're gonna have to switch back to the ratchet. And we have what really feels like some water. There we go, that's good. We actually had some water down in the bottom of that, so that's nice to get that stuff out of there. We're gonna let that drain out all the way. Before I go putting the wrench on this area right here, I'm going to go ahead and wipe this all off just to try to avoid getting any of this dirt down in the tank. Of course, I like to keep a lot of rags around. Definitely get your hands messy. I have some rubber gloves on off and on, but honestly most of those things rip half the time. It's kind of annoying. When you find some really good heavy duty ones, hang on to them, use them. But this, we're just doing some wiping. Get all that out of the way. Should be good. Counterclockwise. Just about like any oil filter or some of the ones like on my F350, man, don't ever crank these down too much. They just need to seal the gasket. It's underneath this. There. All right, set that to the side. All right, now if you look at the top here, you'll see this boot, kind of a little bit rubber feeling. It's about as simple as this. Just pull up on this a little bit and you'll feel it release. And there is the same suction filter that you're going to replace. And you can kind of see what holds it in. You've got a nut here that locks it. It threads into this. Same thing here. So we're just going to replace that out. All right, went back. This is probably my third pair since some other stuff I've been working on today. Really needed to put them back on, getting with this. You'll start feeling this on your skin. You really need to have some kind of protection here. But so I've got a 19mm that'll hold this part while we do the 12mm on the locking nut. Let's give that a shot. There we go. It's unlocked. Now, what I'm going to do is, after it's unlocked here, is I'm not sure how much effect. It's got to have some effect because this has a certain depth that this is going to go down into the tank. And it appears that this rod would make a difference in how this thing may seat and move and everything on the top part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count turns it takes to get out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 turns. Let's go back in 8 turns as soon as we get it kind of started here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right down about the same. Let's lock her down. Okay, locked down. Should be the same depth. Should be good. So we're ready to put her back in. While we're here putting the rod back in, I don't know if you noticed in the background, this hydraulic hose, this is the one I mentioned at the beginning that was for the backfill blade that busted late last night. But you notice that has the protective wire coating around it, keeps it in its exact place really well, a little bit of protection. However, if you notice right here how off that spring is around it, that actually is what caused the wear in the hose. Just some of the movement there on it and kinking the way that the wire did, that's where we had the failure point out. So even though these are really nicely protected the whole way down from OEM parts, something, I would say a stick, rock, something has got up in there. I mean, I've had to pull sticks out from underneath it before, but watch out for things like that. That could be a failure point coming down the road. And she is in. So we'll be ready to do some filling here in a minute. Got to get the plug back in first. Hey, if you'll notice, this bucket is very full, and luckily I just really didn't even think how much was going to be in there. It was more than I thought, so luckily I grabbed another bucket in time. But if you'll remember, right when I took the drain plug out, it dropped into the bucket, so it's at the bottom. So we are going fishing with the magnet. We're hopefully get it out without having to. Yep, got it. There we go, drain plug. All right, we're going to move on now. I'll get it back in. All right, we're done with everything for actually yesterday, and coming back out and just wrapping up some stuff today. But you'll notice, you can see some of the water droplets that are going to settle beneath any kind of fluid like this, especially diesel, oil, and even the hydraulic fluid. So it's always going to be at your lowest point, and that's a good thing as long as your intake for something isn't at the bottom and really picking up that stuff and the gunk that's there. All that little bit of debris, if you can see the stuff that was in the bottom, the B, that was not, that was, I guess, from last night. But yeah, you can. All right, back, everything is back on, got the lid back on, wiped down again. You'll notice the fluid level in there. Oh, you can't really see it that good just because of the shadow, but it should be in the middle of that circle, and it is, but you really just can't see it because of the shadow. But one little thing I'll show you on this that had an issue early on, not really an issue, just one of those little design things, but when this lid was open, it really came out a little bit farther, and it was a little bit annoying because I just didn't have the space, sometimes fueling. And one of the things that I did for that is, if you'll notice, there is another washer that I've tack welded on top of this connection. And believe it or not, man, that little bit of height that it gave me a lot more room in the swing going this way. Actually probably a couple inches up here at the top, so that was pretty cool. That's getting ready to get closed up. Filter change, oil change, or excuse me, the fuel filter. And I did mention, I'll show this on the maintenance table probably while I'm editing all this, but if I did happen to call this the suction filter, the one I was replacing, that's actually the return filter. It just kind of come out of my mouth there. So yeah, this is the return filter. The suction filter down in the very bottom is going to come out a little bit later on the maintenance table. And then around to the front, the other thing I'd mentioned on repairing this hydraulic here, I did get some of the just plastic wrap on this for a little bit. It's going to rub this, so I don't do a lot of repetitive up and down with the back blade. I will on some jobs, but that's going to get me a few days till I'll get one, and I'll just end up keeping this hose as a spare, keep it on the truck, and in case something goes down. So that's it for this time. I've got several other cool things that I think will come up. I'm going to go over some tables on how do you charge for a Traco, and I've actually went through the entire maintenance table for 2,000 hours, fuel consumption, parts, a lot of different things, and tried to come up with what does it really cost to run this machine, a KX71-3. And you could use the other thing. I'll make another video on that later, but that's it for this time. Y'all have a good Labor Day weekend. Bye.